Hey everyone, and welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we're going to be taking a look at Palantir Technologies, or PLTR for short. A company
Wow,
that's,
yeah.
well, they've been making a lot of noise in the stock market lately. Now, I know the stock market can seem a bit intimidating, especially if you're new to investing, but don't worry, I'm here to guide you through it step by step. We'll break down some of those complex ideas into some easy to understand concepts so you can feel confident in your investing journey. So let's jump right in. The first thing you need to know about PLTR is that its stock has been doing incredibly well. In fact, it just hit a new 52-week high of $63.39 on November 13th. Now, that's a really big deal in the stock market world, basically. It means that the stock is performing really well and has reached its highest price point in the last year. That's definitely something to get excited about. But remember, past performance doesn't guarantee future returns, and it's always wise to look at the bigger picture. Speaking of the bigger picture, PLTR has gained over 253% this year, which is way above what the overall market has done. So what's fueling this incredible growth? Well, PLTR is a data analytics company that specializes in big data and artificial intelligence. Think of it this way. They're like the detectives of the digital world, helping organizations make sense of huge amounts of information. And AI is super hot right now. Companies everywhere are eager to use it. And that puts PLTR in a very strong position to benefit from this growing demand. Now, let's talk about something called technical analysis for a moment. It's like using clues and patterns in the stock's price history to try and figure out where the stock might go next. One of these clues is something called moving averages. Think of them as trend lines that smooth out the daily ups and downs of a stock price. To show us the general direction it's moving in, PLTR is currently trading way above its 50-day and 200-day moving averages, and that usually means the stock is on an upward trend. But hold on. Before you rush out and buy PLTR stock based on this, there's another important piece of the puzzle we need to look at, and that's something called the Relative Strength Index, or RSI. Now, the RSI measures how quickly and strongly a stock price has been moving. It can help us spot if a stock might be getting overbought, which basically means it's gone up so fast that it might be due for a little break or correction. Right now, PLTR's RSI is pretty high, suggesting that it might be a bit overbought. But remember, this doesn't mean it's going to crash. It just means we should proceed with caution. And look at other factors as well. And there's another thing to keep in mind, which is volatility. Volatility means how much the price of a stock swings up and down. PLTR has been pretty volatile lately, meaning its price has been moving up and down quite a bit. That's pretty common for stocks that are attracting a lot of attention, especially those in exciting sectors like AI. Here's where things get even more interesting, you see. Even though PLTR is doing really well, there are some experts who are a bit cautious. They look at things like the price target, which is like an educated guess about where they think the stock price might go in the future. The average price target set by analysts for PLTR is $33.73, which is quite a bit lower than its current price. So why the difference? Well, one reason could be PLTR's high price-to-earnings ratio, or PE ratio for short. It basically compares the price of the stock to how much profit the company's making. A high PE ratio can mean that investors are really optimistic about the company's future growth, but it can also make some experts worried that the stock might be a bit overvalued. Now, let's take a look at something called candlestick charts for a moment. These are like visual representations of a stock's price movements over time. They can give us some interesting clues about what investors are thinking and doing. On November 13th, the day PLTR hit its new high, it formed a candlestick pattern with a long upper shadow. What does this mean? Well, it could mean that there were some investors who were trying to sell the stock at that high price, creating some downward pressure even as the stock overall was going up. Think of these candlestick patterns like little stories that the market is telling us. They can give us some clues about whether buyers or sellers are in control. For example, if a candlestick has a large body, that means there was strong buying or selling pressure. The upper and lower shadows show us how high and low the price went before settling for the day.
And a doji is a special pattern where the opening and closing prices are almost the same, signaling indecision in the market. So, we've looked at some basic technical analysis, but remember, this is just one piece of the puzzle when it comes to understanding PLTR. Next, we'll dive deeper into some more technical indicators like the RSI, MAD, CCI, and Williams-Bressar, which can give us even more clues about the stock's momentum and potential direction. But we'll save that for the next part of our deep dive. For now, just remember that PLTR is a fascinating company and a very exciting field, but it's important to look at all the different pieces of information before making any investment decisions. All right, so we talked about moving averages, RSI, and even those cool candlestick patterns. Now, let's explore a few more technical indicators That can help us get a better feel for PLTR's momentum. You see, these indicators are like different tools in a detective's kit, each one providing unique clues about the stock's behavior. Remember the RSI, which we said was a bit high. Well, right now it's sitting at 80.53. This confirms our earlier suspicion that the stock might be in overbought territory.
Meaning it could be due for a little breather. Then we have something called the MASED, which stands for Moving Average Convergent Divergence. Don't let the fancy name intimidate you. Think of it as a momentum indicator that helps us see whether the stock's upward or downward move is gaining and losing steam. Currently, the MACD is giving us what traders call a sell signal. Now, this doesn't necessarily mean you should rush to sell your shares if you have them. It just suggests that the upward momentum might be slowing down a bit. Next up is the Commodity Channel Index, or CCI. This one tells us how the current price compares to the average price over a certain period. Think of it like a thermometer for the stock's price action. If the CCI is too high, it could mean the stock is getting a bit too hot and might be due for a cool down. And guess what? PLTR CCI is currently at a whopping 369.39, putting it in the extremely overbought zone. Finally, we have the Williams-Rivard, another momentum indicator that's similar to the RSI, but it looks at things from a slightly different angle. And just like the other indicators we've discussed, the Williams-Rivard is flashing a warning sign with a value of -1.08,
indicating extremely overbought conditions. Now, I know all these technical terms can seem a bit overwhelming, especially if you're new to this. But here's the takeaway. All these indicators are basically saying, hey, PLTR has had an amazing run, but it might be time for a pause or pullback. But don't panic. Remember, these are just short-term signals. The long-term story of PLTR could still be very bright. To understand that, we need to look beyond the technicals and consider some fundamental factors. One important concept here is support and resistance levels. Think of these as psychological barriers in the stock market. The support level is like a floor where buyers tend to step in and support the price if it starts to fall. For PLTR, the main support level is currently around $29.83. On the flip side, the resistance level is like a ceiling where sellers often come in and create downward pressure on the price. PLTR's resistance level is currently around $33.13. So, if the stocks start to dip, keep an eye on that support level at $29.83. It could be a good area for buyers to jump back in. And if it tries to rally higher, watch for selling pressure around that resistance level at $33.13.
Here's the thing about PLTR. It's more than just lines on a chart. It's a company operating in a really exciting field, artificial intelligence. And AI is transforming everything from healthcare to finance to transportation. So, while the short-term technicals might be giving us some cautionary signals, the long-term potential of PLTR is still very much intact. Now, we see that PLTR, it's been riding that wave of excitement around AI, but there are some signs that the stock might be getting a little ahead of itself in the short term. One of those signs is the decreasing trading volume we've been seeing lately. Trading volume is basically how many shares of the stock are being bought and sold each day. When volume starts to decrease, it can sometimes mean that the momentum behind a stock's move
It's starting to weaken. It's like a party where people are starting to head home.
Here's the key takeaway. While the short-term ups and downs of the stock price are important to watch, they shouldn't be the only factor in your decision-making. Remember, investing is a marathon, not a sprint. And when it comes to a company like PLTR, the long-term potential is what really matters. So,
how do we assess that long-term potential? Well, we need to look beyond the technical charts and delve into the company's fundamentals. We need to ask questions like, how fast is PLTR's revenue growing? Is the company profitable? What's its market share in the AI industry? Who are its competitors? And how does it stack up against them? These are the kinds of questions that will help you understand whether PLTR is a solid company with a bright future or just a flash in the pan. Remember, a company's stock price can fluctuate a lot in the short term, but its long-term success will ultimately depend on its ability to execute its business plan and deliver value to its customers. So, where does this leave us? Well, we've learned that PLTR is a fascinating company operating in a very exciting field. We've seen that its stock has been on an incredible run, but there's some signs that it might be due for a little breather in the short term. And most importantly, we've discussed the importance of looking beyond the technical charts and considering the company's long-term fundamentals before making any investment decisions. Now, I know that investing can seem complicated, especially with all the technical jargon and market noise out there. But remember, it doesn't have to be overwhelming. By breaking down complex concepts into simple terms and taking a step-by-step approach, you can gain the knowledge and confidence you need to navigate the stock market and make informed investment decisions. So, is PLTR the right investment for you? Well, that's a question only you can answer. But I hope this deep dive has given you the tools and insights you need to make that decision with confidence. Just remember, always do your own research. Consider your risk tolerance and never invest more than you can afford to lose. And most importantly, enjoy the journey. Learning about investing and exploring different companies and industries can be a lot of fun. That's it for our deep dive into PLTR. I hope you found it helpful. Until next time, happy investing.